Home Depot just announced that corporate employees need to return to office 5 days a week starting April 6th, which would be unremarkable corporate news, except for one small detail. They already announced this back in January of 2025. Same company, same mandate, just a different month. This isn't a communication problem. It's purely a compliance problem. When you have to tell people something twice, it's not because they didn't hear you the first time. Stanford's Nick Bloom has data showing 17% of companies are already on their third return to office policy, not counting repeats, which is simply not iterating. That's pure failure. For IC and HR teams, this raises an uncomfortable question. How many times can you announce the same policy before you admit the policy itself is the problem? Home Depot paired their second announcement with 800 layoffs, mostly in tech roles. The message lands differently when it comes with a side of job cuts, though. Employees aren't stupid. They can see when RTO is change management and when it's workforce reduction by another name. Jenni, here's what I'm stuck on. Is repeating the announcement admitting the first one failed, or is it doubling down on a bad bet? Because I can't figure out how internal comms teams are supposed to message this internally without looking completely ineffective.
So I remember when you sent this to me and I replied and went, have they just repeated the same thing? And you were like, yes. There's lots of questions here, aren't there, about doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different outcome is the definition of insanity, I think. And what I think is the issue here is that it's a credibility issue for me. I think the leadership aren't being followed, they aren't being believed, and people are just not doing it. What's interesting, I think, from an internal comms and culture perspective, is there were clearly, whilst they have done job cuts announced with this one, there were clearly no consequences for 12 months of people not doing it. And I feel like the story is missing. Like, we've talked about RTO a lot. Like, why do you want them to come back? What is it you're really trying to achieve? Why is it so important? And if you tried last year and it didn't work, then what was the impact on the organization as a result of that you're now trying to fix? I think we're just missing that link back and that link to everything. But I also think when we're doing things that change cultures and behaviors, which this stuff is, we don't take the time to really engage and speak to all of the different management layers in the organization. So for me, this isn't necessarily a top leadership position. For me, this is an engagement of leaders throughout the organization. And I wonder what the process has been to discuss, engage, and go through that process with everybody. The final point I'll make is that what I think this signals is that this change of starting to cement ways of working post-pandemic, 5 years on, takes time. Like, you can't just communicate it once and things change. There is a time element around change, which is around 1 to 2 years based on research that I saw a few years ago. And I don't think leaders are thinking about things in that time frame. So actually, if you think it's going to take us 2 years to actually get the culture where we want it to be and get people working in the way we want them to because of whatever reason, people aren't giving themselves that time. And I think this also reinforces this instant need that we seem to have to do things when actually that's just not how human beings work.
Yeah, I talked to a Home Depot employee after I saw this, not at like my local Home Depot, like a corporate employee. And they said employees called their bluff. Like, there's no teeth to this. We see what they want. We can deliver what they want without having this strict mandate or this strict policy. And I don't think these layoffs are like a punishment for not following it. It just shows this ineffective leadership of, we really mean it this time. Like, we really mean it. And the employees are like, yeah, we know how to do our jobs.
Yeah.
We will come in when it's right to come in. It's the right time to do it. We don't need to be in here 5 days a week. And so the fact that this has now come out again, I think it just shows how ineffective the leadership was the first time, that now they're doing it again the second time, which I don't know that any sort of effectiveness has increased over time if employees were like, yeah, we're gonna keep doing our job the way we know the best way to do it.
Yeah. And I mean, that is a bigger issue around like accountability and stuff like that anyway. But you mentioned a statistic in your sort of summary from Stanford's Nick Bloom saying that 17% of companies are already on their third policy. I really hope that somebody, because I'm not going to do it, has a look at that policy evolution. Like, so if they're now on the third, what's been the difference each time? What are we changing? Is it going from 5 to 3 to 2? Or is it going from months to weeks? What's that shift that people are doing? I think that piece of data is really interesting to see how people are adapting and shifting it. Because I'm wondering if it's going that way in terms of we've started strict, we've relaxed it, or we were relaxed and now we're going strict. Like, I'm really interested in that swing.